Hello everyone, welcome to the Condor Station. I'd like to give you a bit of history and background for our Condor Recovery Program, and then I'll answer any questions you might have. I'll start with some history. In 1987, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service captured the last condor in the wild and put it into the breeding program. Imagine, that was the last wild condor, and no one knew the species could recover. Fortunately, the surviving condors made it and produced offspring. Now, after more than 17 years, there are 149 condors living in captivity and 99 flying free in California, Arizona, and Baja, Mexico. More birds are being released into the wild whenever possible, and we know that at least 5 pairs of birds are mating in the wild, so that's good news. Now, you can guess that we want to keep track of the birds in the wild, so how do we do that? We've used different tracking systems, but now GPS, global positioning system, attached to the bird, giving us our best information. Just so you can appreciate our work, think of trying to attach one unit to a bird with 9-foot wingspan. Those wings could come close to knocking you out, and the peak is as sharp as the sharpest knife in your kitchen. This part of the job can be challenging. Anyway, GPS gives us a lot of data. Geographic coordinate within 14 feet up to 17 hours a day. This is a very specific and useful information. One thing we have learned is that condors fly a lot more distance than any day that we ever knew. An example of this comes to one of the mistakes we make in the early days of raising baby condors. We had humans taking care of the babies. The people wore puppets on their hands that looked like adult condors, but they didn't act like parent condors. They just used the puppet to give babies food. Then those babies were put together with other babies and had no contact with adult condors. Now what we realized later was that because of this approach, the baby condor didn't learn to be afraid of people. After they were released, they would approach people without any fear at all, begging for food at campground and things like that. They acted like pets instead of wild animals. Obviously, this wasn't good. After watching adult condor with babies, we realized that the parent condor taught the baby a lot about being cautious and defending themselves. So now we're going to see this in raising baby condors. All the babies in the program are raised either by an old condor or by a human wearing a puppet that looks like condor. The humans are trained to act like a parent condor. As I said, pecking and harassing the babies. We found that baby condor raised in this way actually taught to be cautious, are much more likely to avoid humans. Another area we learned a lot about because of the GPS monitoring is the way group of condor relate and work together. Condor is scavengers, so they need to look for dead animals to eat. Now you probably never thought of it, but that's not the same as any animal that hunts for food. Think about it. A scavenger is dependent on finding a dead animal to eat at the right time or it goes hungry. So what we found is that condor actually share this information about good location for food. There's actually a kind of apprenticeship where condor work together. A more experienced bird helps a less experienced bird learn where to find food. It's not really something you imagine birds doing, is it? Another surprising point is how social these birds are. Through the information for GPS units, we found that birds actually do like to socialize. One group of birds will travel about 160 miles down to the coast to visit another group and hang out. That's something many of us can relate to. Although we might not travel 160 miles all that often, even to visit a good friend. So that's some background on the condors. Why is this important? Well, first of course, we like to have wild condors living without interference from us. But in a broader sense, we can always learn. As I have mentioned, we found that condors are very intelligent and their lives are more complex than we have realized. So we never know what else we might learn or how this information might apply to another animal's problem or even people's problem for that either. Good morning and welcome to the program. According to a report out this week, the United States is still a nation of entrepreneurs. The number of single-person businesses, or people who are self-employed, has increased to 17.5 million, up from 17 million last year. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, this morning we look at a trend towards self-employment and freelancing that's happening all over the United States. But first, let's go out on the street and talk to some people who are on the front lines. What do you do? I have 3 different jobs. I'm a substitute teacher, I write for a website, and I volunteer at an art museum. Wow, how do you juggle all that? Well, it's not all that bad. I only teach for a couple days a week, 2 or 3 days a week usually, and I do the website work at home, often during the evenings, so there's not much conflict. You call it variety, so you enjoy working in 3 different places? Right now, yeah, I really do, especially with the teaching. When you're a you don't get You don't get involved in the day-to-day stuff or the paperwork or the politics. You just go in and do the job and then you go home. And it's flexible. I don't want to go to work, I don't have to. But if I feel that I need to work more, it has more teaching hours. If I have a full-time job, I think I'd burn out. And I wouldn't be able to do all the work, which I really enjoy. What about health benefits? Well, I get health insurance through my wife's job, so I don't have to worry about that. Tell me about your job. I've just set up my own baking business. I make cakes for special occasions, weddings, and that sort of thing. Really? Why did you do that? Well, I had a full-time job. But I got laid off, so I decided to go out on my own. And how's it going? Well, I don't have many expenses, but because I'm living and working in my parents' house, so I don't have to pay rent. But it's going okay. I'm getting by. It takes a while, to get known. It's been a learning experience. I've learned a lot about managing a business. What are your plans for the future? Well, I need to work on marketing, getting out there and selling myself. I'm not very good at that part of it. Ideally, I would like to work with a partner that could do that. Maybe I'd like to have my own place someday, but right now I'm just taking a day at a time. Back to the studio right now, and if you join us, the subject is a recent report that shows 17.5 million self-employed people in the United States. We're taken to labor specialist Jenny Huang. Welcome to the program, Jenny. Thank you. Jenny, can you tell us who those 17.5 million people are? What kind of work those people do? Well, the greatest rise in the self-employment has been in professional and business services. That would include people like freelance web designer, marketing consultant, and so on. And why do you think self-employment is on the rise? Is something going on here? Writer and programmer and so on. There are a lot of people working in those areas now, but there's also been change in attitudes. Those are more people who want the advantages of self-employment. They're finding it preferable, able to manage their own time, for example. They want to have more control over their own schedule. Exactly. What are the downsides of self-employment? Well, a lot of people underestimate the amount of time you have to put into the business side of things, especially marketing, especially at the beginning. It's not enough to be good at something. You have to be able to sell yourself. Some people you just never go into self-employment because marketing isn't their strength. The other thing is to be organized, especially with your time. You have to be able to manage your time. You need a business plan, and you really have to be very organized to be a successful freelancer.